Hi and welcome to a quick explainer how to do GCSE questions for OCRB and to revision practice of how to understand the mark scheme and how to write answers. And the two units I'm focusing on are People's Health and Making of America. The People's Health and Making of America papers are the same in terms of the exam questions and strands are the same. Both papers have 5 questions in total. All students must complete questions 1 to 3. And students then choose question 4 or question 5. So you do 4 questions in total. The question 1 is worth 1 mark, question 2 is the 9-mark summary question, and the question 3 is an explain question worth 10 marks. The final question which you choose, question 4 or 5, is an argument question where you have to agree and or disagree with 18 marks. The question strands for both of these exams and these units are identical. So here's an exemplar paper, the 2019 People's Health paper, and I'm going to use this as an example of how to answer questions. There will be some content covered in this session, but it's mainly about how to answer the questions. So you use that knowledge when looking at the Making of America and the rest of People's Health, how to answer questions in both of those units. I'm going to use this paper as an example. So if you have a look now, there are 3 questions, 1, A, B and C, they're all worth 1 mark. Have a little look. Then there's question 2 is a 9-mark question, followed by a 10-mark question, question 3. Those questions are compulsory. Everyone must attempt and do those questions. So question 1, A to C, 3 quick knowledge-based questions. They're only worth 1 mark. You only need 1 word or phrase for an answer. You do not need to write in a full sentence. So the answers to those 3 questions were: people got their water from a water cellar, people believed illness was caused by miasma or God, and people used face masks to stop the Spanish flu. My answers on the screen are colour-coded. The red answer, even though it's correct, it's a full sentence. You don't need to do that. The word water cellar would have been fine. Answer 1B is also correct, but you give 2 reasons instead of just giving 1. One of those answers would have been correct. You don't need to write 2 answers. Question 1C is perfect. So 1 phrase, use face masks. That's correct. They're quick questions based on knowledge. Question 2 is a summary question. You've got to write a summary to a question. If you write 1 point or 1 paragraph, you can target grade 4 or 5, making sure you include good knowledge and you give a simple explanation. If you're aiming for grade 6 or higher, you need at least 2 points using good knowledge and explanation. This question, it's crucial to know, this is a more knowledge-based question overall. You need to make sure there are lots of facts and keywords in this answer. You get 6 marks for that and 3 marks for simple explanation. So here's an example for the question from the 2019 paper. The question is on the screen. Write a clear and organised summary that analyses people's lives in Britain in the period 1750 to 1900. I've highlighted in the key words in the question, people's lives, the period. That period is the industrial period. And I'm going to make sure I use the phrase people's lives in my answer, because I'm always then linking it back to the question. And so a 1-point answer that would target at least a grade 4 or grade 5 is on the screen. In red, I've got a point. People's lives improved during the period as waste was dealt with. So I've given a reason, I've given a point in my first sentence. I've then given an example. By the mid-1800s, towns and cities didn't have proper sewers until Joseph Alghetti's built 1,300 miles sewer system in London after the Great Stink. My example has got lots of facts in there. I've got a key name. I've got a key fact about 1,300 miles. I've got a key event, the Great Stink. And I've got a simple explanation at the end. This meant life improved during the 1750-1900 period because water was separated from waste, so less people died from cholera. I've added another fact at the end. But in that last sentence in purple, I've got 2 connectives in there. The phrase this meant and so less. I've explained. That would be 1 paragraph, 1 point. That would get towards a grade 5 answer on its own. 2 of those points, you'd be targeting higher than that. Question 3 is an explanation question. In a similar way, you need to make 2 points if you're aiming for grade 6 or higher, or 1 point if you're making grade 4 or 5 as your target. But crucially and differently, for the 10-mark question, the mark scheme is slightly different. You get 5 marks for knowledge, and you get 5 marks for detailed explanation. You get more marks for explaining in this question, so we need to use connectives more. So let's look at the question from the 2019 paper. Why did living conditions in medieval towns have such an important impact on people's health? Explain your answer. Again, I read the question and I underlined and highlighted the key words in the question. Living conditions. Well, living conditions in any period make me think about housing, water, waste, diet. Medieval towns makes me think about the period 1250 to 1500. And the phrase important impact, well, important can be really good, positive. It can also be really negative and bad, but it's important. It's something big. So with that in mind, I've written an answer. Living conditions in towns are important because they have a very negative impact on people's health. I've used the phrase very negative to stress how important it is. For example, waste was not properly disposed of by butchers and fishmongers in markets who made a terrible mess, and there was dung from animals in the streets. I've got some facts in there about waste, who produced the waste. But then, more importantly, I need to explain why that had an impact. This kind of waste was a problem, meant that diseases were easily spread around the town, had a negative impact, making people ill. Again, I've got phrases in there, this kind, easily spread, negative impact. I'm stressing how important, negatively, that waste was. You could try and write an answer by yourself now on one of the other living conditions like housing, or water, or diet. And making sure you are explaining in detail and linking back to the question for those top marks. So there's question 1 to 3 complete. Question 4 and 5 is back on the screen. You have to choose your answer. Which question you're going to answer, choose carefully. Read both questions carefully first. Don't dive in. Choose which one you think is easiest, which one you think you know more about. Once you've made that decision, then plan your answer. It's really important that you take time to think and plan. For these questions, question 4 or 5, it's an argument question. You have to agree or disagree with the statement. If you explain one reason simply, you can target grade 4. One paragraph, simply explain grade 4. One good paragraph, agreeing or disagreeing, could be a grade 5. 2 points or 2 paragraphs, agreeing or disagreeing, grade 6. And for 3 or 4 points or paragraphs, grade 7 and higher. This question is about explaining and linking it back to the question. You get some marks, 6 in total for knowledge, but it's mainly for explaining in detail how those facts and your knowledge helps answer that argument question. So the question I've chosen is on the screen. I chose question 5 in this case. Again, I underline the key words. National government has done more to improve people's health since the 1900s than it did during the industrial age of 1750 to 1900. How far do you agree? It's asking you if you agree. The key words here were national government. What has the government done for everybody in the country to improve people's health? We're only talking about improving the positive things, the good things. And the question is asking, has it done more since 1900, in the last 120 years, than it did in the previous period? It's asking you to compare. Your structure will be similar to the way you've done question 3, with that point, evidence, explain, linking back to the question. But in your answer, you are trying to make clear your argument if you agree or disagree with the statement. That's why it's an argument question. The answer to this question, you could agree that the national government did more to improve people's lives because it passed legislation and laws. It introduced the NHS, passed an immunisation programme, a Clean Air Act, introduced anti-smoking laws and housing acts in 1919. The government also introduced the welfare state, which included free school meals, old age pensions, unemployment benefits, all those things had a positive impact on people's lives. You would have to, in an answer, explain why they were positive improvements. You could disagree, because in the industrial age, there were lots of things that they did to improve people's lives, and things that were still in existence. For example, the sewer system had already been designed and it was still being used today. The Public Health Act of 1875 forced councils to improve housing, water and waste. The housing in the 1900s were better because of that law. The government in recent times has also been quite slow to deal with issues like obesity and lifestyles. They were quite slow to pass smoking laws or introduce sugar taxes to deal with obesity and cancer. So you could argue that actually the industrial period was more proactive in improving people's lives. But as long as you're arguing your point in the same way as you did with question 3 and explaining and linking back to the question, you will do well. I hope that helped. For more revision videos to help explain how to answer questions and content videos about all 4 topics that we've studied, go to the Altrincham College History YouTube channel and watch the videos that your teaching staff have put online for you, and other revision materials that are available to you on ClassCharts. Good luck. Thank you. Bye-bye.